All right, what is up, everybody? Good to be back as always. And um we have w- we got some stuff we got to talk about, okay? And there's a lot of people are going to see the thumbnail and they're going to assume, just speculation here, but they're going to assume that I'm probably going to go on a little bit of a rant about how Fab is dead and Riftbound's taking over, or that you know basically Fab players are doing good in Riftbound, so it's good marketing for Fab. I That's not really my stance on the topic. So if you're going in with that expectation, you're gonna get a little bit of a surprise. Now we're gonna talk about those things. We're gonna briefly like touch on them, but the overarching point here is actually we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. We're going to talk about kind of what it means to have Riftbound in the equation, right? In regards to Flesh and Blood, we're going to talk about the dev talk. There is me personally, my Riftbound champion's got to be Ari. Not the most competitive right now, but one day, or I could try to meta game it and get the metal card. See, I'm just saying. Um, but there's so much to talk about today, and um, I'm just gonna hop right in. I don't even know like where to really start. So like we're just gonna dive in. We're gonna start with the dev talk, okay? As everybody probably knows, James and Brian did a dev talk. What had to be a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken, and they basically discussed formats, the change, and um, you know basically the change on Blitz and LL and all of those things. And then the incoming Silver Age are technically already here, if depending on what you want to kind of set the standard to. There was one point in overall, I thought it was a really good dev talk. I thought it was informative. End of it kind of was a little bit of marketing spill, but like I get it. I get it. I respect the hustle. Okay. There was just one spot. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna give a little bit of direct feedback. Um, it made me a little worried, if I'm 100% honest. And no, it wasn't the part where they were saying that the Flesh and Blood players are gonna come home. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to when they started discussing LL, they started by saying it was a home run at Worlds. And they basically said that it effectively they got it right where they wanted it. They effectively, it was a lot of praise directed at Living Legend. Now, a little bit of context to what I'm about to say is I was all on board for LSS basically making an all-in dive on the LL format to, you know, to basically determine whether the player base was interested or not. Okay. And that's what they did. And they did it in that regards, they did it really well. They didn't pussyfoot around. They just, they full sent it. They said it's in Worlds. Let us know. The problem is we let them know, and the result was that it was where you wanted it. That's the takeaway. Um, I don't know about everybody in chat, but I was in the trenches going to PQs and all of that, and I literally watched CC event 30 plus people in Podunk, Alabama. Okay, LL event 12 people, CC plus 30 people, LL event 13 people. If If 2/3 of your player base have no interest in playing your format, how is that where you want it? Is my question. Now, to their defense, they said that LL must be tailored toward the higher level players. I'm like, okay, let's think about that. Um, so the next step up would be a calling, right? Well, people would rather, obviously, when two battle hardens sell out and there's a wait list to get into the CC battle harden, and then there's a calling with like 400 people in it to play LL, and half of those people were begging for a ticket to the battle harden. So they were basically, I'm going to be 100% honest, they were there because one, they already flew into the area, and the battle harden had not started. If you would have ran a CC battle harden on Saturday instead of the calling, half the people would have been in the calling. I can guarantee it. Like, yes, the players innovated and we came up with new decks and things like that, but it's because we had to. I I had a couple conversations, and I say a couple. Everybody I ran into them, I asked them the question directly. I said, "LL, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me how you feel about it." And everybody, you know, there was a handful that were like, "Yeah, it's kind of cool. It is what it is, right?" Like that's the best response I kind of got. And I don't know. It worries me a little bit. Now, hopefully it's like what I'm hoping. Okay? What I'm hoping is that I do not expect them to turn on the camera for a dev talk and say, "Yeah, format shit. We gave it a shot. We did our best. On to Silver Age," right? Like from a PR and marketing perspective, like that, I would respect the shit out of it. I'm just gonna be honest, right? Like I'd be like, okay, this is that Dustblade, we made a mistake kind of shit. Okay, I can get on board with it. But holistically and for the game, probably not the best move. Okay, so I can respect that. I don't expect that they would, make that type of comment. At the same time, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the way I interpret it. And I'll take that. If that's the case, the majority of the player base don't feel the same way. I'll take the L. No harm, no foul. But I took it a little bit disingenuous, if I'm being honest. Like it was like, I don't know. That's just the vibe that I got. Okay. And so I wanted to touch on that little part because it was a little worrisome, to be honest. It was kind of, it's LL was not a success. The only out of every data point that you could possibly acquire, period. The only possible thing that you could derive a positive data point for LL was the stream numbers. Okay. Typically, during a high level event, what happens is your stream will be here as far as viewership. I'm just going to throw out a number, 2, 3,000, whatever the case. And then we get to limited, and this is what happens. It dips down to about 1,000, 1,500, and then when we go back to playing CC, it shoots right back up. Okay, that is your typical viewership transition if you were to kind of chart it out, right? And the yes, in LL that line stayed flat. There was no dip down, right? But the point that I want to make is it had nothing to do with it being LL. It had everything to do with it just wasn't limited. Like I'm gonna be straight honest. Like I think that's what did it. Was it exciting to watch? Sure, I enjoyed it. When I saw the production was great. Like they did a fantastic job. All of that, kudos, right? Like it was cool seeing some of the combos, but like It was basically just CC, but a different meta. So where's your positive? Where's the positive data point? Where are we? How did we arrive at this is where we want it, and it was a massive success? Is it because the viewership didn't drop? Is that what we're gonna hang our hat on? I I don't know. I'm just saying that comment. I don't know. Let me get caught up in chat. I saw this one kind of poke out a little bit. Do you think the comment LL was a massive success about LL at Worlds was more about the game on stream? Yes. And that was, it kind of alludes to my point too. If you were to, if you, and I thought about this for days, I asked myself the non biased question. I said, okay, what is a positive thing that came from LL? And I thought about that question for days. Okay. And that's all I could come up with was viewership didn't drop during the stream. That's it. The players didn't prefer it. There's a lot of players that didn't go because that was the format. The data says players didn't want to play it during ProQuest season. What are we? I'm not gonna sit here and beat a dead horse. I'm just saying, come on. And I got a lot of respect for Brian and James. Like they, you know, it's a tough spot to be in, and I respect that because you're basically. I guess what I'm alluding to is I'm asking them to effectively criticize what they pour their heart and soul into, and that's difficult to do. Okay, I'm not going to say that they should not you know yeah, it's hard. I understand that, but just I don't know. It just seemed a little. It got me a little worried. I was like, is that where we want it? I was like, is that was that the goal? Was that the goal that every single data point was negative except one? It wouldn't be my goal. I mean, sure you could argue that the glass is 1/10 full, but I mean that is a line. That is a line. Let me get caught up in chat. So top champ, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea, and we're going to talk about that and how Flesh and Blood, believe it or not, cannot do the same thing. They will probably try because it fits holistically, but I'm going to explain why it'll fail if they try it. Um, is this the new Riftbound podcast? Hello, Briar. Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. But we're playing it. We're enjoying it. I will say that having 3 top decks is good. Was that close to the quote, if I remember it correctly? I don't know if. Yeah, they said that for the CC portion. That's correct. It's where they wanted it, but then they said, just won't do it again for a while. Exactly. I would have had more respect if they actually just said that. Yeah, I mean, I would love a Dustblade. We made a mistake, but like once again, they did the right thing. They didn't like torture us with like some events here, some events there. They got the answer they wanted, or I hope they did. That's the I hope they got the answer. Think they're going to shelf LL next year? I mean, that's exactly what they're going to do. They don't have a choice if they want people at the event. Riftbound's rules feels like Chat GPT came up with it. I I don't know about that. It's not the vibe I got, but sure, okay. Um, did not. Yeah, that is the success. Was the spectators did not leave during the stream. That is correct. That is correct. I did a decent amount of positive feedback on X with regards to LL testing at Worlds. Yeah. Playing limited way better than watching limited. That's the truth that I need to hear. I mean, that's it. That's so accurate. Didn't go to Worlds because of LL getting bans 2 weeks prior. I mean, yeah. I would have went to Worlds if the calling was CC. Exactly. Exactly. So we've kind of just talked about that, okay? And the last thing that I want to talk about before um, before we dig into the Riftbound situation, the elephant in the room, right? I want to touch on one more thing during the dev talk. Okay, we've everybody that has played Flesh and Blood in the past 2 months, they've heard the statement, "Your $20 ticket to the world tour." Okay, which is a catchy line. I'll give them that. And once again, I'm not trying to dog on people. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give honest feedback. That is my goal. If anybody from LSS sees this, I hope that's how it's taken. Not this person's like digging at me, right? Like that's not the goal. I'm trying to be honest, I'm trying to help out. And maybe I'm not helping, but at least I can like tell myself that I tried, right? Like I don't know. You know, I think I'm helping. I'm trying to contribute. Is my number one goal. And so the $20 ticket to the Pro Tour, or not the Pro Tour, but the World Tour, right? What I'm trying to understand is I get the idea, right? $20 deck and it's super competitive and you can play it in a calling, right? I played $75 to play in a calling at Worlds. To make it worse, I paid $75 to play an LL calling. Okay. Just to add insult to injury. Okay. Um, and at the same, and once again, like that has nothing, Flesh and Blood can't just be like, no, the events are 20. Like, no, I get it. What I'm trying to portray, and I'm going to get to my point, is I don't understand the pipeline that they have designed for Sage. I love the idea of Sage. I've been enjoying playing it. The new Briar deck is cool. I'm enjoying playing the format. Not the feedback I want to give. What I'm curious about is what is this cost-effective pipeline? Okay? Because the argument is like this is the cheap way to play the game. Okay? That's a fair statement. But it's not really a cheap way to get into the world tour because there's not a dedicated circuit for that format, right? The way I envision the pipeline, and maybe this is where I'm fucking up, is like if you go into Sage because you're a price sensitive customer, right? Like you cannot afford an $800 deck. And that is CC, right? And you play Sage and you fall in love with the game. That doesn't drop $800 in your lap to go then play whatever. So there is no transition vessel from Sage to CC. It doesn't exist. Okay? The vessel is taking out your wallet and buying Majestics and Legendaries. That is the vessel. Okay? And I get that, at the end of the day, like they are making a very valiant effort on that with reprints for Shelter of the Storm, Balance of Justice. They are doing, they are doing what they can. Okay. And maybe they know all of this and they can only do it so fast. And I accept that, right? If that's honestly the case. But currently, there's no pipeline. Somebody's going to fall in love with the game playing Sage, right? And they're going to have nowhere to go. They're going to have to go and travel for a battle harden, or I'm sorry, what is it? A showdown? Like, yes, they up the price support, so maybe that becomes worth it. Your travel radius becomes larger. That's that. Great job there. Like I said, this isn't all trying to be negative. I'm just trying to give just feedback, whether it's good, bad, whatever. And I don't understand that transition vessel. It makes a lot more sense if CC decks were like $200, right? Like then somebody can migrate from Sage to CC. But currently, like, the accurate statement should be those decks are your $20 ticket to approximately 30% of the world tour, is what it should say. Because you're not going to go to most callings because you don't have a CC deck. You're not going to go to a lot of events, right? Like, no pro tours, no worlds, no, you know, half your pro quests don't go to those. Half of your RTNs don't go to those. You know, and once again, I'm not saying that there is a solution that they could just enact and, you know, boom, snap your fingers like this is solved. I'm just trying to get feedback to where I don't understand how somebody transitions from Sage to CC. Kind of the idea. Um, and I'm hoping that somebody, chat, feel free to push back and educate me on this. But I don't understand where, um, you know, how that really happens. Winning Sage events can possibly give you prizing to help fund your CC deck, gold pools, etc. Uh, sure, that is entirely possible. But first, you have to get back the money that you spent to travel. And if you know anything about gold foils in the past year, they have cratered in value. I mean, there's some that if you open them, you literally cannot sell them. You literally will not be able to find somebody that will buy them. You just won't. You just can't. Uh, will Sage alleviate some of that? Maybe if it's playable. Um, the market has spoken. The collectors have left. I mean, basically, if a card is playable, it is valuable. If it is not, it can get fucked. Like, it will not have value. I don't care how rare it is. I don't care how sparkly it is. I don't care how good and majestic the art is. None of that I take that back. I don't want that to get taken the wrong way. Those are very important aspects in the game as a holistic product. But as far as assigning a secondary market value to it, none of that shit matters. Zero of that matters. The only thing that determines the value of a card in Flesh and Blood is how many you can put in your deck and how playable it is. And they act on each other. That's it. And then how many are available? There's also a multiplier there, right? But like, that's it. That is, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Like, that is how you value Flesh and Blood cards. And Sage is a taste of the game. If you really like it and want to commit, you can move to CC. So I kind of agree with that point, but at the same time, you could just play Taushar for free. I mean, that is an option, right? Like, you can tell whether you like the game. And there were several ways to, like, you could buy a first strike deck to tell if you liked the game. You could buy Blitz Precon to see if you liked the game. You could, that's never been the selling point. You can go get a free. You could get a free Ira deck at your LGS as long as they have them, and they can order them from at any time, and they're absolutely free. You can get a welcome deck, Ira deck, and literally free. Like, I just don't think that that's ever been the part where, like, Flesh and Blood, like, needs the help. I don't think that's the issue. So let me get caught up in chat, and then we're going to dig into the Riftbound situation, and we're going to break down why I think this is both the best thing for the game to ever happen, but at the same time being the worst thing that's ever happened to the game. And I know those are contradicting statements, but I promise you, it will make sense because I've thought long and hard about it, and I guarantee you it'll make perfect sense. Let me catch up on the chat because I want to make sure I probably have missed a ton of stuff. I just want to, make sure that I get at least most of it. There will never be a transition like that available that doesn't exist in any other games either. Yeah, but like you're right there, Nick. Right, where like, but also most games, it's like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck consists of, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 32 worthless cards and 8 staples. And each staple is like 20 bucks. So you can get a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck for probably 200, 250. You can't do that in Fab. You just can't. You're trolling. Like Dash.io might be the only deck you could actually purchase for that. Maybe, possibly. And yeah, and that's literally because they can't run Majestics. That is the only reason. Um, a play set of one card can cost you $200 in Fab. Just reality of it. And once again, to their credit, they are doing probably their best that they can to fix it. They're reprinting. They got codexes. They got shelters now. They got all these, like, hats off to them. They're making the right moves. Making the right moves. Uh, but I mean that is a good point, Nick. It's a good point. They do the best of three thing where your CC deck and Sage deck, your $20 deck is now 600. Yeah, and that's true. Um, when Fab decks are around 1K and even Riftbound prices are higher due to scarcity, high end decks are 330 exactly. And you know that eventually a Riftbound deck's going to drop to $100, $50, whatever, right? Um, right now it's just crazy because the product's not available, but Riot's going to print the shit out of it. I mean, the ever loving shit out of it. Um, I'm a longtime TCG player. The game is said to be growing. I can assure you it isn't. That's interesting. Um, it allows more mobility between decks in Sage. Yeah, in Sage, but like you're already at $20, so like the mobility laterally within Sage is kind of irrelevant, right? For the most part. Sage is a taste for the game. If you really like it, yeah, we already talked about that. Where first strike decks could have basically been doing that for years. Agreed. LSS pushed out collectors, hurt gold fools, and competitive pricing is kind of sad. I mean, yeah, that part. A lot of that was not their fault. A lot of that is like they a small select group of people injected a lot of capital into the game during the COVID era, and they all yoinked out at the same time. And there were a lot of other people like Channel Fireball that manipulated the shit out of it by hoarding cases and stuff like. I don't think that's an LSS problem. I would never blame LSS for what happened in the secondary market for the past 3 years. I think that it was manipulated and people took advantage of it, and there were too few people that injected too much capital into it, so that way when they pulled out, the ripple effects were just massive, right? Absolutely massive. I live in an area that has the highest number of hobby stores per capita in the US, and it's only played in one store near me now, and it used to be 6 or 7. Yep. Tower Shore's wonky though. Sure, it's a good resource, but IRL, it's always so much better. Oh, of course, of course. I feel like Sage is trying to help the game expand. Players who have been playing the longest have been an issue with the current game, and Sage doesn't solve that issue current. Yeah, I mean that's fair. Well, that's true. I taught people with first strike decks, gave them away. Yeah, that's exact. I built people rare only decks, all kind of stuff, right, to get them going. Um, I think compendium is a fantastic idea. I do as well. I think it's exactly what you need for Sage. I think it's exactly what you need. And we'll see how the execution. What I'm worried about is when like it 90% affects Sage and only 10% of it applies to CC. That's kind of what I'm worried about. I think that's easily avoidable because you just like you juice your Majestics and like that's not a Sage card, right? Like it should be easy to navigate from a design and development perspective. I think they can pull it off. Print on demand. Yep. I would love for Riftbound to be affordable at some point. It will. It will. The One Piece card game is a fantastic game that cares, and the cards are literally worth cents. Yep. For Fab, this is kind of expensive. It's kind of outrageous. Yeah. Um, how do you feel about Sage decks being just CC decks but light versions? Should Sage decks be different? I mean, that's how everybody will begin the format. But like my Briar deck, nobody's ever seen anything like that in CC. Like, maybe. I don't know if somebody's just in a dungeon somewhere brewing up shitty Briar decks, but like nobody's doing that in CC, right? And so that's, it will start with like CC light decks, but I think as the player base matures and starts experimenting, I think it'll branch out and be much more than that. So okay, let's go ahead. Let's go and talk about the elephant in the room. Okay. And before we go any further on the Riftbound topic, I want to start by saying, objectively, Flesh and Blood mechanically is a better game. It just is. Okay? Is Riftbound fun? Absolutely. I've had a blast playing the game. But if you put them beside each other, as far as a mechanics base, Fab is better. Okay? But I'm going to explain why that doesn't matter. Okay? I'm going to explain why it literally does not matter. Okay? And with the Riftbound and Fab dynamic, I want to basically explain a scenario and tell you like two different historical events that happen that could be very, very similar. Okay? Depending on how a certain party acts, right? So, Flesh and Blood has operated and you have the TCG market share. Okay. And you just put a circle there, right? And then all you could section that circle into like quadrants. You could say collectors. You could say biggest player base, Magic. Collectors would be Pokemon. Um, fast combo degenerate gameplay would be Yu-Gi-Oh! And people that steal stuff. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. I don't want to hate on too much on the Yu-Gi-Oh players. No, but for real, like I went to a Flesh and Blood event. I saw somebody wearing their backpack like facing out, and I asked a buddy. I was like, "Why is somebody wearing their backpack like that?" They were like, "Oh, bro, in Yu-Gi-Oh, we used to do that all the time because people like steal shit out of your backpack." I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, that shit does not happen at Flesh and Blood events." The shit gets stolen probably, but we're not like wearing our backpacks how they're not designed to prevent it. Okay, that's all I know. Um, so anyway, I digress. So like quadrants, you have like different specialties. This is what we'll refer to it, or niche, or whatever you want to refer to. And in the corner, the last quadrant would probably be something along the lines of like professional organized play. Okay. Now, for all of your card games, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that, professional organized play. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh pays their tournament winners in like air fryers and Nintendo Switches. Shout out to Vera for that one. But like literally, they don't even pay cash, right? Like, so that is a joke, not even like a contender, right? And then Magic kind of just left it. They were like, we're not making money off of it. Fuck it, right? Like, do they still do pro tours and stuff? Yes, they do, right? But like for the most part, they have pretty much just dipped out of like major competitive cash. Like it still exists, but it's not a it is barely a fraction of what it used to be, right? So they're not really competing. Not a whole lot. A little bit, but like they're not really competing. Flesh and Blood kind of just swooped in and said, "You know what? This is our quadrant and nobody's going to fuck with us." Okay? They ran it. They said, "If you're a good card player, you're going to come to our game and you're going to dominate. If you are not, then you're probably better playing something else." Like that's why the value of cards are determined by how much it's a player's game. That's all people are doing. Nobody's I say nobody, but like collecting the game is such a small fraction of what the community is. It's important, and I don't want to downplay it or say it's bad or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like person to person, you put 100 people in the room, 10 of them might be like decent collectors, maybe. And so basically, for the most part, if you carve out just a little bit that Magic still has, Flesh and Blood for the past 5 years, from a economic perspective, how whatever basis you want to use, they've had no competition. They have been arriving and thriving because nobody is fucking with them. Uh, you and I'll give you two historical examples of this happening. Okay, I get to tell this one because like it's not even telling me old because I didn't even use this shit. Okay, so back when the internet like first happened, right? From a consumer basis, right? And the browser that was used was like I think it was called like Netscape. I never even used that shit. I barely used Internet Explorer, right? But basically Netscape dominated like 98% of the market share for internet browsing. And then and it was a small like company, not big, just, they did it. They had the ingenuity to do it. They developed it, did it. Microsoft came in and just destroyed them. Okay? Um, they had obviously the capital, they had the you know the resources, and they made a better product, right? And nobody knows what Netscape is, right? Everybody knows what Internet Explorer is, and even that got abandoned later on when somebody else kind of did the same thing, right? And once again, the point of this discussion is not to doom and gloom. I'm not saying that Fab is dying tomorrow. That's not my point. I just want to let's go to the other end. Let me give you another historical, way more recent, that's more relative, where's Unc going with this? I knew somebody was going for the throat on that one. So Netflix is another good Microsoft didn't play fair. That's a good point, but that's business. That's business. Okay. But I agree with you, and hats off to you for knowing that. Um, Unc. Oh man, they're killing us. They're killing us. So Netflix is another good example, right? Netflix came into the streaming service, no competition. You had Comcast over here figuring out what channel to put like, bro. It was like bringing a computer to a typewriting class. Like it was. You had cable TV, and then Netflix was just over here thriving, chilling, bro. Just straight chilling. Okay? But a different story unfolded. Amazon didn't step in and just wipe them out. That's not what happened. Probably everybody in chat has a Netflix subscription, or at least half of us probably do. So what happened, why that story is so different, what was the next, competitor to enter that market space? Hulu. Then you had, you know, Disney Plus, and then you have like 15 of them, right? And what happened? What makes it different, right? What makes it different? Well, Netflix can, if you look at the historical timeline of when things happen, when competition started to enter the market, right? I know we're going on a little bit of a economics class or what, but it's important, and it's going to basically circle back to my fab point. I promise you it will, but just bear with me. When Disney Plus entered the market, they stripped all the IPs that they had from all the other streaming services, and that gave Netflix a choice. They either continue doing their own thing, right? And everybody remembers Netflix when they first kind of started. To be honest, it was kind of dog shit. There were some shitty old movies on it. Like every now and again, they would get one banger or two, but like for the most part, it was pretty shit, right? Like it was just cool that you could watch what you wanted when you wanted. That that was the cool part, right? And what ended up happening when all the other people entered the market, it it drove competition. Netflix started to quickly realize that for them to survive as a business, they couldn't rely on just buying rights to movies because all of these other people that had channels under their name, Disney owns ESPN, AMC, a whole bunch of other shit, right? Like all of these different, they already have those and they can secure them very, very easy. And basically, what happened was Netflix came to the realization that they had to adapt. And that's where we found the innovation of they said, guess what? We'll make our own shit. They said we we cannot compete with Disney on the basis of acquiring rights to movies. We are going to lose every time. They have more money, more connections, everything. So Netflix said, "Hold my beer. I'm about to go make my own shit." And what did we get from that? We got Stranger Things. We got The Witcher. We got, to be honest, some of like, for the money it costs to actually make, we've probably gotten the best television like for our dollar. Hands down with their originals. Flat out. Because they knew that they had to adapt. So the question that I want to ask is when this happens to LSS, what are they going to do? Are they going to be Netflix? Or Netscape? And that's the point that I really want to drive, is that the difference between the two scenarios, there's a lot of complexities that kind of led in the direction that they did. But at the end of the day, Netflix knew they had to pivot. And they did it. And they thrived in a competitive space. In a space that is, to be honest, I don't even understand how it has handled the saturation that it has. And it's phenomenal what they've been able to accomplish. And that's why, bringing this all to a singular point, LSS is going to have to adapt. I hope they know this now, but they're about to find out if they don't. And I'll give you a couple examples, okay? People in chat, just think about going to a Flesh and Blood event, calling or hire, Okay? Calling or hire. And what is the difference between a calling and worlds visually? I would beg you I would beg the question, if you removed all the labeling on the banners that said calling or world championship, and you put somebody in the room and you ask them, do you think this is a calling or do you think this is a world championship? I don't think they could answer your question. I think that's a fair criticism because me, as somebody who's probably been to 100 events, literally not exaggerating, the only thing that I can come to my mind on what differentiates a calling and a world championship that's not letters saying so is a little rope around the player's area. That's it. That's it. That's the only difference. The production's the same. Don't get me wrong, production's great. It's phenomenal every time, no matter what it is, as it should be. But holistically, it's it's just the same shit. Like there's nothing different. Now, what happens when Riot comes in and kicks off Worlds with a fucking concert? Or a cinematic that they developed just for that event? What the fuck are you gonna do then? I'm telling you, this stuff. Look, Riot held the first Riftbound event in the US in Houston this past not this past weekend, I think, but the weekend before. 1,000 people showed up and played in the event. And you might say, Flesh and Blood's had 1,000-person calling, and you'd be correct in Baltimore. Played in it. But here's what a lot of people don't know. There were 1,500 people that also showed up in Houston for Riftbound and could not get in. If they had the venue space, they could have ran what is equivalent to a 3,000 person calling. A 3,000 person calling on the first event, official event in the US. 3,000, chat. Production, phenomenal. The feature match was literally on a stage. Literally. They had like a whole viewing area. Vera told me that there were literally a couple hundred people just watching the finals in the little viewing area. And somebody in chat said it's because of the IP. Well, I'm gonna tell you the cold hard truth. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, the point is that competitive card game players are going to have a choice in the future. Go to this event or go to this event. We're going to have to make a choice at the end of the day, right? Like, I'll give you a good example. This weekend, there is a calling in Seattle, and there's like a 10 or 20K in Orlando. Now, because it's not an official event and it's more like localized, more people are going to go to Seattle. But if there was another Houston on the same weekend that there was Seattle calling, there's going to be some choices to be had. And what I'm saying is, these things that seem so insignificant, the company is 100% throwing money at. I guarantee you, just from a production standpoint, I can guarantee that I can literally guarantee that the the production budget for that event was probably 10 times what Ethan gets. And to be honest, they were kind of the same. I mean, but also it was their first event. Do you remember the first Flesh and Blood event? Mike's getting muted, all kind of shit. You see what I'm saying? Like they skipped that whole learning process. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna start where they are. Right? Lorcana already has 1,000 people events that sell out in minutes from that perspective. How is Riftbound different? Michael, that's actually a phenomenal point, and I'll explain what the difference is. First, Lorcana is, in my opinion, a unique situation because it is heavily influenced by collectors. It is, if you were to put a line that said Pokemon collectors, Flesh and Blood players, and you were to graph Lorcana on that line, where would you put it, Michael? I would put it closer to Pokemon than I would Flesh and Blood. Do they have people to play the game? Sure. How many of those people are showing up just to get the promos and sell them? Which once again, I'm not hating. Do your thing. But once the prices go down, if they do, it's a little worrisome. There's a lot of players, and it's not like this for me because I have kids and we go to Disney World and all kind of shit like that. But there's a lot of people that are kind of embarrassed to play Lorcana, right? Like they don't. Maybe they say that it's a kid's game or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people that don't want to go to Disney World because of that same reason, right? Where they might not realize that it's actually pretty dope, right? And so I think that's the big difference. But you're kind of onto something, Michael. Like there has to be a distinct difference, and I think those are strong enough. Did you watch the Runaways podcast from today? I haven't caught the one that came out today. They talked about how Riftbound event, and they basically had no promos in the same way that Fab does. So the incentive to go to each is a big point. Exactly. I mean, at the physical event, just do it live. For everyone at home, delay is fine. Oh, we're talking about the delay thing. Oh, you're going to love the podcast coming up. You're going to love it. Riftbound will figure out price. Yeah, once again, you have to go into this understanding it was the first event in the US. Bro, look at Flesh and Blood's 100th event. The first one that Ethan did, before he when he had just started, once again, he had to do it. He was basically just doing it on his own, like a passion project. Thank God he stuck with it because here we are, right? It worked out. But even the stuff that was there was glare on the table for 2.5 years. I mean, just all kind of shit. Okay. So we can't look at the first one and be like, yeah, it's fucked up. They didn't get this right. They didn't get this right. I guarantee you, within 6 months, they'll have all that shit figured out. Okay. They'll have it all figured out. Okay. And my ultimate point is Flesh and Blood players are going to have to start making a choice. Go to this event, go to that event. They're already playing the game. We had Cody over there. Sean won it. Tarek was there. There were probably 50 to 100 Flesh and Blood players that went to Houston. And at the end of the day, you can only play one game at any given time, and there's going to be decisions that are made. And what do you you know, and it's interesting. And once again, the point of this stream is I'm not trying to doom. I'm not trying to say Fab is literally the first thing I said is before I started this section. Flesh and Blood's the better game. Simple as that. In my opinion, I think, to be honest, objectively, although that may be biased, whatever the case may be, I think it's the better game. I do. I truly. The other game is really, really good. And Michael, you also made the point of like comparing Lorcana and Riftbound. Riftbound is light years better than Lorcana will ever be. I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, just from an everything perspective. I'm not saying Lorcana is bad. I'm just saying that Riftbound from day one is already way better. It's not the better game. It's the better mechanic. Okay, sure. That's a good point, and that is what I actually said the first time. I said mechanically it's the better game. So technically, yes, you are correct. And then that is what I said the first time 15, 20 minutes ago. So I gave the example of some of the things that, and I'll give you another good example, right? For those of you who don't know, in Riftbound, if you go to a tournament like a regional, a big tournament, and you're the top placing of a hero, you get a metal card that is specifically tied to that event, I believe. And it's like metal and it's dope as shit. Okay. And people are paying like 10 grand for these. Now it's not gonna stay that way probably, but like, everybody's talking about it and shit. So the point is, if you're a diehard Olympia fan and you go to Worlds, you got nothing to live for. I'm gonna tell it to you straight. You got nothing to live for. But if you do the same shit in Riftbound, there is a mathematical advantage, possibly, depending on what they sell for and which one you're going for and how relevant it is in the meta. There's a legit argument. Like, I'll give you a good example. Fab player, went and played Garen at the Riftbound tournament. Now, Garen, from my knowledge of the meta and everything, is Garen is basically just a worse misfortune in every way. Like, it's like comparing Azuri to Mario. Like, it's just worse, right? Like, it just is. But mathematically, he could have been correct. Like, if you looked at the math of like, okay, if I win, I get this. But if I take a nerf and it impact my chance of winning the event, but then I'm the top placing in that hero and I get a $10,000 prize card, the correct answer could possibly be the fact that like you play the worst hero. And it's actually insane. Because what it does is, in my opinion, it's the first ever example of how you can manipulate a meta. And when I say manipulate, I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean like it's a unique way to change up a meta without interacting with bans or anything. Literally, people will just try to game the system, and it could be the correct thing to do. And it's insane. And I know what a lot of people in chat are probably saying. They're like, Flesh and Blood's going to do the same thing a year from now. And but people don't play for money unless they're pros or psychos. People play for the love of the game. So yes, holistically, you are correct. However, the number of events people go to is typically derived from the possible reward. I'll give you an example. Mathematically, you could derive a battle hardened in, we'll say, New York. Okay. There is a radius, like mathematically, that you would have to, on average, be inside for it to be worth going. Are there people that will still fly across the world and go to it, like Eugene and Jacob and Michael Fong and Brody and all? Like, yes, there were people that will always do it. But statistically, there are radius that a person would be willing to travel to go to said event. Okay. And it standalone battle hardened, and the reason they do not exist anymore is they were shit EV. And nobody was the radius was so small that you basically got PQs, RT, and level of attendance plus the 30 grinders. That's it. That was your people showing up because they love the game. Nah, bro. Like, yes, that's why we play the game. That's why we chose this game. But going to certain events, there is a big influence on whether you go to an event is the possible outcome. For anybody that plays this, if you are at all a competitive player. Now, if you are nothing but casual, of course you don't give a shit. But I'm saying, like, anybody that's going to the Pro Tour, it's in the back of your mind. You're probably not going to travel 300 miles to go to a battle harden. Just not going to do it. Would you do it for a calling? Of course. Like that's just how it is. So we can't say that, people don't play for the money. No, it is an impact. If that was the case, then why'd they bump it to $2 million for the prize pool? Like, that already happens with other TCGs. Of course it does. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just stating that that's how the world works. When you play anything competitive, your possible reward and the risk of expenses traveled equals participation. That is the reality, okay? There is some people that, like, they don't want to do anything else. They just want to grind the shit out of it, and they'll go to that. But I'm saying, on average, statistically, that's how the world works. People already pick the game they like best. If they play for the money, they need financial help. No, that nobody plays TCGs because they need the money. For 99% of the player base, playing TCGs is a net negative financially by a mile. Okay. Yeah, and chasing the money is part of the fun. Like, it is the metric of accomplishment. That's a very great way to put it. That is like, it's like, oh, I won $100,000 is way different than saying I won an air fryer. So, like, the prestige is way different, right? And there's that, there's that aspect. This conversation isn't about most people. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we're, like, talking about two completely different things. I'm saying that if you're a competitive player, money matters. If you're not, sure it doesn't. Right? That's kind of the hill that I would be more than willing to die on. Bro, Yu-Gi-Oh! Air Fryer. Oh, that was Barrows. It was pretty good, though. It was pretty good. So that's kind of the point that I wanted to make, was things are about to change. And I truly hope it's for the I am so excited because, once again, going back to the example I gave, Flesh and Blood has been operating in this space with no competition, to be honest. Like, literally no competition. They've been doing their own thing and just chilling. And now, big boy on the block has showed up, aka Riftbound, with a war chest that's pretty big. and they're not playing around. They came out the gate swinging. They knocked it out of the park. They're doing this for real. The game's good. The production's good. The tournament was ran well. Everything. Were there some hiccups? Like, did you not get to pick first or second based on seeding, top 64 to finals? Yes. There, but they will fix those things. They will fix it. Okay? Even if you say Fab has no competition, it's not in Fab. That's entirely true. That's entirely true. I don't think Riftbound is competition. That is a very interesting take. When we literally saw 50 flesh and blood players playing the game this past weekend, and one of them won it. So if somebody is engaging with that, how is it not competition? Wait, why did Fab have no competition? So I kind of explained how, like, basically, you know, it's kind of how, like, Pokemon was like for collectors, and then MTG kind of abandoned organized play, or at least greatly demolished the investment, which kind of drove a lot of the players to Flesh and Blood. Is what honestly happened. And then Yu-Gi-Oh gives their winners air fryers, right? So they haven't had any competition, but Riot did a regional, gave basically the same prize support as a calling. I think it was like 10, 15K for, the first place winner, and you get the card that's worth a ton of money. Like, oh, and you get the hero card because you're obviously the best placing for that hero. Like, the pricing was better than a calling, right? And, that's the reality of it. Can we say that it's off season for Fab? It 100% is. It 100% is. And that's why, once again, the point of this stream is not to say that Fab is going to die to Riftbound. That's not my point. My point is that you have a lot of Fab players that enjoy the game. It is a company with an IP. It is somebody that is giving equivalent prize support as Flesh and Blood's OP program. There will be, I missed which Fab player won. Sean Dollywall won the Houston 1,000-person tournament. I agree it's competition, but it's also possible for people to compete in multiple. Yeah, of course, of course. But at the end of the day, you only got so much time, right? Like, there's probably hundreds of players that play MTG and Fab, right? Well, if they pick up Riftbound, which one are they going to give up? Are they going to play 3 TCGs? Are they going to play 4? What about Slay the Spire on the airplane, right? Are they going to play 5? Like, you see what I'm saying? So, the point that I'm trying to make is, and I haven't even touched on the fact that, like, the economic uncertainty in the US and probably all over the world over the next 2 months or 2 years, it's not looking good. And when those things start happening, people have to start making choices. All right. Are you buying 6 booster boxes a year? Well, you buying 6 Flesh and Blood ones. You buying 4 Flesh and Blood, 2 Riftbound. You playing, this, that. You see what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, they'll play the TCG with the most money. That's not true, because that didn't happen with Lorcana. There was plenty of money to be made in Lorcana, and still is. But I ain't seen them. I ain't seen them at no Lorcana event. Are there a couple? Probably. But they're not flooding like they were to Houston. So, and I'll explain. A lot of people seem to like the idea of the metal cards. And I'll give you a reason why. And a lot of people are going to probably draw the conclusion that LSS should do the same thing. And I'll explain to you now why that's not going to work. And so basically, the I don't even know where I was going. I was reading chat at the same time. Oh my god, I lost my point or what I was about to go off on. I completely lost it. Let me get caught up in chat. Good opportunity. I completely lost it. Just keep doing what they're gonna play what they like the most. I mean, yeah, they're gonna. But which one you like the most is more than just the game. It's more. It's also. I'll give you another point. The weakest point in Fab, in my opinion, or the thing that we've had the most trouble with, is a lot of our. Oh yeah, the metal cards. I'll get back to that in just a second. The hardest part was taking our MTG players and talking them into playing Fab. And I tried to do this, and it was very difficult for me because I never played MTG. Fab was my first card game. And it was a very difficult process. And the number one reason I gave, or I was given, was people did not want to play Flesh and Blood because all of their friends played Magic, or there wasn't a lot of people. They wanted to see a room of 30 people before they started to give it a chance. Riftbound's doing that. Like a Nexus is probably popping on. A Nexus is like an armory, basically. That shit's probably popping off right now. I just guess. I don't know. Haven't been to one. I'm just making an assumption. They're probably popping off right now. And it's going to be much easier to eliminate that excuse to switch over. You also have the IP that going for it. I'm just saying, there's a lot of things there. So I'll explain now why the metal cards are not going to work in Flesh and Blood. And that's because a lot of the things that I explained, like not manipulation is the wrong word, but like the demo, the the changes in the meta due to incentives for playing certain heroes is kind of complex and unique. That can never happen in Flesh and Blood, and I'll tell you why. And it's because the math doesn't add up. Let's say they make a gold foil hero, put it in the little packet, whatever, call it a day. If that card is only worth $50, $100 for an off meta hero, aka the only thing that derives value in Flesh and Blood, there's no meta shifting. Nobody's bringing a weaker deck for a chance to get $50. The shit doesn't make sense. Is it a coolness factor? Yes. Are people going to be flexing left and right because Udo has 19 gold foil Acelios? Yes. Sure. Possibly. But like that's the ultimate driver for that scenario. If you take the value away, and the card games are not all about the money. I'm just saying that the value of the cards are what's driving these scenarios. So it loses the meta shifting, and I like it is cool. I'll concede the fact that it's better than not doing it probably, but it's not going to have the same effect. It's not going to be as dynamic. It'll be like, okay, you know, Josh will get him a gold dory, or yeah, like, and it's cool, but at the same time, like I just don't know how far that's going to go. They'll probably give it a shot, and it's not a bad idea, but I don't know. I don't think we'll really know if Riftbound is competition until people choose to play it over a calling. I agree with that point. That's technically you're 100% right. Technically, everything I'm spewing right now is speculation because we have not had that data set to compare. But you are 100% correct. When we have calling this weekend, regional this weekend, in a relatively close proximity, aka two of them on the same side of the US or something like that, you bet your ass I'm going to count every single Fab player I know that's at the Riftbound event because that's going to be the good data point, right? How many players said, I'm not going to play the Flesh and Blood event so I can go to the Riftbound event? And if that is approaching zero, then it doesn't matter, right? I don't get it. The game lends itself to it so well. It does. Oh, you're talking about PvE, not the medical. I'm gonna get back to your comment in just a second. My LGS army has 8 to 14 people, but our Riftbound Nexus night run on both Saturday and Sunday and 20 to 40 people. I mean, that's where I'm getting at, right? An air fryer with the bells and whistles or not? Bro, we're actually trolling. Oh, we're actually trolling, bro. Oh goodness. Metal cards worked well in Grand Archive. I don't even. I've heard of Grand Archive, but like that's it. That's it. Fab is going to be my competitive game to travel. I'm playing Riftbound because there's no Fab players in my area, sadly. Um. So on a serious note to you, I have a question for you. How long does that sustain? Uh, just 1-to-1. Honest question. Let's fast forward 9 months from now. For the past 9 months, you've been walking in your LGS. You see the Nexus night, 30 people playing, looking like they're having fun, and then you show up to the armory and there's 6 people. 6 months from now, after seeing all of that, like, do you like just not care? Does it not matter? Or does it slowly like wear on you? And you're like, all right, fuck it, I'll give in. Like, I'm asking. I'm not telling you anything. I'm genuinely asking you. I don't know. This Flesh and Blood is my first TCG. Okay, I'm asking here. I've never given the perception that I'm like the arbiter of truth and like my opinion is the only one that's accurate. That's not in so many examples. I've immediately conceded on a point if I'm given a good data point. Um, like church is a point of like 2 events not occurring at the same time, so we have no true data on like whether people are willing to choose one or the other. That's a very good point. Um, Riftbound will probably follow suit, but if their boxes remain at 120, that is also somewhat of a thing for the future. People should probably buy singles for both games. Yep. That's all. That's the case for every game ever, from my experience. I think it's less for meta shifting and more for supporting the stands of those here. It could be. Yeah, it's entirely possible. It's entirely hardest part about getting players into Fab is finding players that are willing to go through the steep learning curve. Right, and that's another good point. And you know what doesn't have a steep learning curve? You know who like learned Riftbound pretty decently in like 3 hours? Your boy with the Alabama education system. Okay, so am I saying I'm a pro? No, God, no. But like at the same time, like I guarantee you, the learning curve is not as bad. And to your point, the part about Fab is like the learning curve. It's not just a learning curve, but it's like an in your face learning curve. Like you're just constantly reminded through the whole game that like you have zero chance to win this. And it like they remind every time you draw a new hand, you're like, yeah, why am I doing this? I have no chance to win. It's currently 8 to 40. Um, there's not like I don't know. I feel like this conversation needs to be differentiated, needs to differentiate the different kinds of players and hobbyists. Someone looking for a good game isn't necessarily the same person looking for a big pay. Uh, that's entirely true. And so, okay, a little bit of perspective because you're technically right. Um, I'm I don't deal anything with casual flesh and blood. I just don't. I I don't have that fiber in me. I've always just been like I like the competitive version of everything. And this is a personal opinion. I view the rest as like why am I doing this? I can't talk myself into like I'm doing it. I have to like be doing it for like a reason. And I know everybody's going to say, well, the reason is you enjoy playing it. And my brain doesn't work that way. I have to like set out for something, try to do it, learn from it. And I just can't do that in a casual space or format. This is not how I'm wired, right? You're talking to somebody that plays like strategy PC games instead of shooters. Like I'm just wired in a way to where I need to like be trying to acquire shit. I don't know. It's just how I work. Okay. But you're right. All of my perspective and what I'm referring to is from the competitive standpoint. I can't even begin to speak on the casual sense. What I can say is that from what the vibes that I've gotten from, LSS as a whole, and like they're trying to acquire the casual base. That's why everybody's saying PvE every other day. That's why there's so, they're trying the Silver Age thing. So if you're trying to like double down on something, my first guess would be you're trying to get it, which means you don't have it, which means if Flesh and Blood is lacking in any area, it's probably the casual scene. So if I make a comparison to Flesh and Blood to Riftbound, I have to do it on the basis of competitive play because that's 90% of Flesh and Blood. Where where do you want the proof of that? The statement that I said earlier. Cards are only worth what they're played. It's a player's game. And yes, some of those players are casual. And once again, I'm not trying to downplay casual players. It's not my goal. Casual players are actually, believe it or not, not to contradict everything I just said, they're actually the most important aspect of the ecosystem. Because they're the ones actually buying the boxes. So, once again, casual players, very, very important. But I think that's where Flesh and Blood is probably lacking the most. Another hint is 9, 10 people already today have messaged in chat how they have 6 people armories. That should literally tell you how your game is doing on a casual basis. Is your armory. That's the most casual format you'll ever get. And it seems like they're not doing great. Are more stores doing it? Sure, maybe. I don't have the data. I'm just saying that what I've observed, what other people have told me, it's a little on the low end, is all I'm saying. And I'm not saying that the game's dying tomorrow. It's not what I'm trying to, not what I'm trying to portray. Riftbound being new will attract anyone regardless of what they used to play. That's another good point. And that's why I'm not talking in certainties. I'm not saying that Riftbound is going to wipe out Flesh and Blood. All I'm saying is that if LSS does not monitor the situation very closely, they're going to fuck around and find out. That's the point of this stream. I'm not trying to say anybody's taking anybody out. Not the point. I'm just saying that they've showed up and they're knocking it out of the park. And if they continue to do so, what happens? Or it might be easier to farm wins in Riftbound at the moment. I mean, another good point. Another good point. Same thing happened with One Piece or Kana Gundam. I don't know. Have to evaluate the audience around set 3. And to your point there, what I'm actually waiting on the most currently, it's one of those games that releases like 3 months in advance. Every set releases 3 months before in China than the US. But after I think set 3 or 4, they're going to normalize it to where everybody gets it at the same time. And that's what I'm waiting for, right? That'll be my big like, all right, I'm going to really give this. I hate the idea of like, oh, they get to solve the meta and we're left with the scraps. And there's still room to innovate. I'm not saying like they get it right every single time. I'm just saying you're just like you never get that like initial solving, right? Because you're getting what's handed to you. It's not my thing. But they're going to fix that at set 3 or 4. I don't know which one it is, but they're going to normalize and release everything on the same set. Same thing already went. Somewhat agree, but there hasn't been a big of an explosion of players flocking to a TCG this big on set one in a long time. Exactly. I mean, it's and it's got probably, to be honest, in my lifetime, probably one of the largest IPs ever created. In my from a gaming perspective, I'm the only thing that like even is in that level is like Harry Potter and shit. Like I mean, it's just like League of Legends and Riot. They have literally developed off of the IP. Like it's and it's from like spending millions of dollars on a pre-game show for Worlds. Like they've done a lot to build that IP. They got music. They got a show on Netflix. They got all kind of shit. Like it's a big deal. I don't know anything about Riftbound gameplay, but I don't see it being nearly as good fundamentally compared to Fab. And mechanically, it's not, but it is a very fun game. If LGS are going to support the game, 100%. I'm playing 6 people Armory and 30 people Nexus night. That's why I was asking. I wasn't telling anybody anything. I was genuinely curious. LGS will support the game that brings them money. That's correct. And money is typically derived on attendance. Sean said that he was the only playing for 2 weeks before he won Houston. That is correct. But I don't think that had anything to do with how good or bad the game was. I think we just got done with Worlds, right? Like, so he probably just picked it up a little bit after Worlds. What about affordability? Fab leaning into Silver Age might bring in more players. I talked about that before and how I don't understand the pathway. It's a good start, but like I feel like there needs to be a better link between Silver Age and CC. It's like, okay, you got your $20 deck, cool. Here's the check for an $800 deck when you decide to play CC. Like there's no gap or vessel to like take you there. It's a weird spot. But it's a start. It's a start. I'll say that the learning curve from Riftbound is kind of equal with Fab, but the IP carries it. Well, I would say it's relatively equal, but it's not as like when you lose a game of like Riftbound, it's not like there's been very few games where I'm like, yeah, I just never had a chance to win this. Like that's never a thought that's crossed my mind. Whereas I've sat across from people in Flesh and Blood, and that like I can just tell that that's a look on their face. I'll say we have armories of 10 plus people, always on redraft armories. That's actually pretty dope. Not a casual player, and I buy cases. I just make poor financial decisions. We thank you for your service. Mind you, we had local event armories up to 30 people. And some places are like bumping. And that's great. Once again, like that's what I want. I'm not trying to doom and gloom. Like if I could wish somebody win this battle, if you even want to call it a battle, I hope it's Fab. Like I hope that's how it ends up. I'm just saying that at the same time, just like the Netflix story that I gave, I cannot wait to see what LSS does, whether it's on the basis of survival, whether it's on the basis of Riftbound is just lighting a match under their ass and getting them a little motivated to like do some other stuff. I don't care what the fundamental reason is. I'm just excited about 9 times out of 10 when you induce competition, it leads to innovation. That's the whole basis of capitalism. Is capitalism perfect and are there hundreds of flaws with it? Absolutely. But the one good thing about it is when you induce competition, you get innovation. Simple as that. And it has been like that forever. And I can't wait to see what innovation comes from LSS because of Riftbound. That is why I'm making the statement that I think Riftbound is the best thing to ever happen to LSS. Because I mean, that's a really good question that just popped up in chat. Do you think they're aware of needing to do something? I don't know if they are or not. But what I can say is they're about to be. I don't know how you don't observe what I observed and don't hold a meeting and say, "Look, guys, this is serious." You know. Now, once again, Fab and LSS have made their money on being just a passionate game studio that puts the player first. But once again, that's an area of no competition. No card game has done that. In Riftbound, are they owned by a conglomerate that is greedy? Somebody could loosely make that argument. I don't know the backstory of Riot or anything like that, but like, sure, we'll say somebody says something along those lines. But what if they don't? I do know that Riot ran Legends of Runeterra at literally no profit for years before they gave up on it. So you're telling me that they can't like have a passion project behind a car? Like, I'm just saying it's possible. I don't know. I don't know. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm curious of what comes of it. Unfortunately, our Nexus night and Armory night are on the same night. If I was new to Fab, I'd go learn Riftbound purely based on the number of players. And Michael, that's exactly the type of situations that I'm talking about. Like at the end of the day, it's a market share, right? $500 digital skin. Okay, well, first of all, whose fault is it? Somebody making a $500 skin or somebody actually buying it? Ask yourself the hard questions. Who's at fault? Because guess what? If nobody was buying them, they wouldn't make them. That's another benefit of capitalism, is all I'm saying. Like I'm just saying, they would not exist if nobody was buying them. And we got Cass in the chat. Great job on the casting for that weekend, though. It was phenomenal watching you do your thing. Employees who work at Riot care very much. And honestly, the whole culture there is about making the best experience. I mean, and to prove your point is the point that I was making, where like Legends of Runeterra was like not profitable for years. If that was Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast, bro, that shit would have gotten deleted after 12 months. They would have said, it's red on the balance sheet. Get it the fuck out of here. Okay. Just like they did with the OP program, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And that's why everything's gone to Magic Arena, and because that's the better margin. Like the signs are there. Riot has given an example of we're gonna do what we think, and they didn't even. They had the option to try and monetize the shit out of it via scummy things like packs and things like that, and they chose not to do that. They said we'll just do a physical card game instead. So, just like how I tracking all the way back, the thing that drew me in to Flesh and Blood is the fact that I knew that LSS, every time they sat down at the table for a meeting, the question they were trying to answer was, how do we make the best game possible, not the most money? And I could, through every action that I saw James take, and yeah, they fucked up a ton. But I knew when all the dust settled, at the end of the day, they were going to put the players first. Could they take a shortcut and make a little bit more money? wasn't an option. That's why I just, be honest, just fell in love with Flesh and Blood. Just took me off my feet. I'm telling you. And that's what got me hooked to it. And I'm not saying that me personally, I played a little bit of League for like 3 months, like not even that serious. I haven't played any of their other games. I don't know Riot. I don't know what their basis is. All I know, the only sample size that I have observed is the fact that they put their heart and soul into a card game, aka Legends of Runeterra, had several scummy options to monetize it and make a quick buck, and they did not do it. And I'm being honest, that is a semblance of what got me into Flesh and Blood. It is. Will it translate to the same result? I have no clue. I need more data points. I need, people like Cass that know the inside and have interacted with those people and things like that. Like, I just don't know. But because I've gotten that good first data point, that good, okay, maybe these people are serious. I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to observe, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to give them the opportunity to be that person or that entity or however you want to put it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them the opportunity to put players first. I'm not going to sit there and say you're a big conglomerate, you're a company, you make $500 skins. Like, to be honest, if you're buying, the problem in that scenario that you gave in chat, it's the person buying the skin. It ain't got nothing to do with the company. If I could make a $500 skin and people bought it, wouldn't be streaming right now. I wouldn't be streaming right now. I'd be making skins. Okay, that's all I'm saying. You got to respect the hustle, chat. As I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. Okay, I'd be making skins right now. Okay, and so I can't even hold that against them. Can't do it. So I'm interested to see how things evolve now that we have competition in the space. And here's another thing. What happens when Flesh and Blood feels like their backs against the wall a little bit, getting a little uncomfortable? They start, you know, changing it up a little bit, innovating, doing all of these things, and they get better. And now Riot's back is against the wall. They're probably going to get better. And then guess what? The circumstance has created better TCGs for us card players. Whether you play Riftbound, whether you play Flesh and Blood, the end result is wherever you go, whether it's both, one or the other, whatever, you're playing a better game because of it. It's that simple. And that was the purpose of the stream. I really wanted to just drive that point home. I wanted to say that, like, I didn't want to doom and gloom and say that this game's dead, this game's fake, or anything like that. I just wanted to put into perspective that I think that this is great as long as we don't have the scenario that I gave where you don't innovate and you don't take the competition serious and you just continue to do your thing because you think you're on this island and nothing can affect you, and then guess the next day you're just gone, irrelevant, non-existent. I don't want that. That's not the goal, right? I would trust the game. I would trust that the game will be very good for players over time. It would be surprising to me if not. The current OP system could be a lot better, but the best of pricing is sick. Exactly. And we got to give them time to, like, earlier I was giving the example, like, you don't want to judge Flesh and Blood by day one. You don't want to do that. And it would be wrong to do the same thing to Riftbound. Like, give them some time, let them get their feet, and, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Wizards of the Coast is thinking about what MTG set they could print into Universes Beyond game. Bro, don't even get me started on that shit. I don't know how you play that game after SpongeBob Magic, bro. You gotta be kidding. How do you look yourself in the mirror and play Magic after they made a SpongeBob product? I don't even hate on SpongeBob, but I ain't trying to look at him on cardboard. Like, it ain't happening. Like, that's like air fryer Yu-Gi-Oh levels of bro. How one you get is just gonna shoot up real quick. People play it because they love it. He must have won a lot of air fryers. Oh, that's too good. That's too fucking good. Oh man. That's too good. Oh man, I was baited into hot take stream, and now it's all about the friends we make along the way. That's it, man. I'm not trying to like doom and gloom, Like I'm just legit. Like, I take the air fryer over SpongeBob. I mean, to be honest, me too. Me too. I can't hate you on that one. Oh man. Honestly, guys, I'm playing Fab and start playing it. Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. And once again, I hope that you missed a whole bunch of stuff, Techlo. I mean, air fryers for Yu-Gi-Oh players. You missed all kind of stuff. It was a banger. It's worth the rewatch on the VOD. I promise you. You won't be disappointed. It wasn't the normal bitching session. I promise you that. Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, Last Airbender, Ninja Turtles, all the same standard rotation. Bro, could you imagine like Leonardo spraying a web with a spell card and like with a weapon or an artifact attachment that's the giant sword from Final Fantasy? Bro, that is like, what the fuck is that? Like, how? Who thought to themselves, this is a good idea? Who? Well, I guess they did remake Monopoly like literally 1,500 times. So I answered my own question. Why make something else when you can just slap some new paint on it? I mean, hey, makes sense to me. It ain't no $500 skin, though. I tell you that much. Oh man, the biggest question with this stream is that you've mentioned that it's good for innovation and a bunch, but what does that actually mean? What does the innovation look like? Not saying you're wrong. So that's a good question. The innovation is like, okay, so let's say the innovation will come in the form of decision making. Okay. I'll give you some examples. Like, let's say that their back is against the wall. And normally they would dedicate, I'm just throwing a random number out there. I don't know. 100 hours to a BNR announcement. We got the BNR around the corner. They said, we're going to dedicate 100 hours worth of dev time and thought processes and just brainstorming, figuring all this shit. We're going to dedicate 100 hours to this BNR announcement. Well, if you're in a situation where Riftbound is popping the fuck off, you cannot afford to have a less than optimal meta. Is that a fair statement to say? That it would be a bad situation to have a less than ideal meta due to a bad ban announcement? Maybe they invest 150 hours now or 200. Now they put a little bit more effort into it. Now, Don't get me wrong, that time has to come from somewhere, but maybe they bring on another dev. Maybe they do this, or you see what I'm saying? It affects the decision trees, and it ultimately acts the innovation is yeah, it's not like new tech or anything like that. It's decisions that they make. I think that is Michael's hit the nail on the head. Like maybe coming out with a set and you have 3 unplayable heroes, maybe that's not good enough. Maybe it's not. Maybe when there's no competition, that's acceptable and you can still thrive. But what happens now is if you come out with a dull ass set, then people are going to go play that game for 3 months and they might not come back. You see what I'm saying? It could be PvE. I'm saying there's so many different avenues that the innovation can lead to. But that's a great question on what the innovation actually looks like. And I'm just spitballing, and I turn on the camera. I don't know shit. All of this is off the dome, but like those are some of the examples that they can do. But another reality is they could do nothing. They could do business as usual. And another thing that I don't want to imply, I do not want to imply that they are holding back or half-assing something and Riftbound lights a match under their ass and like now they're actually giving it 100%. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, they're probably giving it 100%. All I'm saying is that it forces innovation. Not saying anybody's half-assing anything or anything like that. I'm just saying that's the message that I'm trying to deliver. What hurts the most when playing Riftbound is thinking how they flopped Runeterra. I mean, that's a fair point. I think Fab's best play is just to continue to make the best product and experience possible. Remember, Riot also has another partner they have to work with who have killed IP cards. I mean, you might be entirely correct. And I'm not once again, I'm not saying that they should like try to be something completely different or try to make their own tower defense game to combat the flank. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that I'm just saying that like they're gonna have to start thinking a little bit more outside the box. That's all I'm trying to say. Innovation equals 10 pre-built Sage decks being released alongside a full set and them being competitive if they are. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but if you can really, truly, to their statement, James White literally said you could take these $20 decks and play them in a calling and win. First of all, you want a genius marketing idea? Put out a bounty and say the first person, somebody clip this shit and send it to them. Genius marketing shit right here. If your selling point for these decks is that you made this super competitive prepackaged deck, first person to win a calling with that exact deck list, $5,000. That is the best marketing decision you would ever make. Because what it does, nobody gives a shit that the deck can win a calling. That's not the important aspect. The point is that they literally set a goal. They said, we're going to put this shit in a box. We're going to sell it for $20 and somebody is going to win with it. And guess what? It fucking happened. That's the marketing. You set a goal, you achieved it. That's all that needs to be said. That's what I would do. Hands down. Literally. First person to win on each deck, give them some cash. I'll do you one better. Don't send them cash because people play the game because they love it, not for the money. Send them a one of one hero that has some like Silver Age pizzazz on it. That's like a one of one hero card or something. You get what I'm saying. Send them something exclusive. I'm just saying, okay? LSS, if you need some help with marketing, give your boy a call. Just give your boy a call. That's all I'm saying. Actually, don't give me a call because you're getting this shit for free. So, like, why pay for it? If I'm being 100% honest, okay, you getting this shit for free. So, like, keep getting it for free, okay? That's I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you, okay? But like, I think that's like a dead ass, like an amazing idea. First person, boom, you get it. Literally. If you're gonna make that statement, back it the fuck up. Like, if your dev said you can win a calling with this, guess what? First person to do it. I'm just saying. Banger fucking idea. Okay, I'm kind of proud of that one. I'm kind of, we're gonna brush the shoulder off on that one a little bit. That's a good ass idea. Big ass bounty. You can do cash. You could do one of one. Doesn't fucking matter. But back it the fuck up. If you made it competitive, because I guarantee you, if you put that out there, people gonna let you know real quick. They gonna let you know real quick whether you made a competitive product or not. But if you delivered on what you said, the marketing that does is like, holy shit. Imagine, holy shit. Imagine the message that would send to Magic players. Imagine you told a Magic player somebody won a deck or a big event and made like 20 grand with a starter deck. I'm just making an assumption here that like pre-cons and shit like that in Magic, it's like buy it, take 2 cards out, throw the rest away. I'm just making an assumption here. There's your idea. Yo, Nathan, what's up? Some of the Team Blood Rush fellows from Colorado were going to go to Houston, but yeah, they sold out in 4 hours. Yeah, I was going to go too, but they sold out in 4 hours. Nathan having an aneurysm, his idea is so good. I'm just saying, that's a banger idea, okay? I'm kind of impressed myself a little bit with that one, okay? Somebody clip that shit. Send it their way. I'm too lazy to. Or better yet, keep it under the stream. Make them watch. Make them earn it. Make them earn it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think that's a good one. I just like the idea of doubling down, putting your money where your mouth is, kind of thing. Oh, good to see you, Dylan. What's up? What's up? Good to see you. Yeah, I would have loved to gone to Houston. I think it would have been a good time. But yeah, I definitely was not gonna just go for the sake of side of it. I know Pierre is a side event grinder, but I can't do it. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. Commander Precon taking a whirl. Wasn't that I'm from Alabama. I can't read that word. Incentivized to only Silver Age precons and distort the data by making it less desirable to play brews. No. What it does is it incorporates a risk reward mechanism. You ask yourself, like, if you're a Brody, if you're a Jacob, if you're a Pablo, if you're a Michael Hamilton, if you're one of those players, and you think there's a legit way to win, maybe it's worth it. Another thing that you could do is if you wanted to, um, if you wanted to, like, because there are going to be like, you can make a statement and say that you could deviate 4 cards or something like that. So that way you give like the pro players a little bit of room to like take out equipment and tech a little bit or whatever. But like for the most part, you won with it. You know, like you could go you could go all or nothing, or you could like flex a little bit. But like the idea stays the same. Great episode. You didn't talk about your love for Rune Blades the whole evening. Hello, good to see you. Good to see you, Andy. Pleasure as always. But yeah, no Rune Blade talk today. But I think it was productive. I think I presented a lot of ideas, and some people in chat push back, which I love. Right, like that's the whole reason I do these things. The whole idea of the stream is, and it's the reason why I don't really produce like like content that's like recorded. People when they consume content, there so many people talk at you via content. I want to talk with you because I don't ever claim to know all the answers, and that's my whole thing. Is I want to have discussions. I want to bounce ideas. I want to try to prove points, and maybe I can't. I have to give up on it, and I have to concede. Like I'm more than happy to do so because I don't claim to know it all. I don't think it's going to look good when people win with the precons and then immediately switch to brewing after the well is dry. Why not? Because guess what? By then, what will they have done? Made the next batch. And then you can make it progressive. You could say, all right, you could do like a reverse living legend bounty. You could say, all right, the longer that this one claims no victory, the prize reward goes up every 6 months, every whatever. You could like, you know, I want to see people win with precons an environment of top optimization. I think that would be. Could you imagine the hype of somebody in the finals with a precon, bro, and like across from him is like a giga sweaty grinder that just like has like their own brew or whatever, and like I can just see it, man. Everybody's like rooting for the precon. Don't care who's piloting it. They're just like, go precon. Like, let's get it. Let's go. Like, I could just picture it, man. Like that would be like the hypest thing on the planet. People just literally rooting for precons, bro. Like, oh man, it would be insane. I work in an LGS and there is no product at all right now. Yeah, it's oh Riftbound. Yeah, there's nothing. There's no you can't find it. You can't find it. But they're gonna print a bunch of it. That's definitely gonna fix. Then why ever invest in the old ones? Invest? They're $20. Like, what are you investing in? Uh, and more importantly, a lot of things are. Here's something that like I think a lot of people are missing the point, right? Because like you can just build the deck. The list is going to be online, and it's not that big of a deal, right? Like you could just make the deck for like $5. And but my thing is like if you're trying to get somebody into the game, which Silver Age is probably the best way to do it, how sick would it be to explain to them, hey bro, there's these precons. And you see these 4 heroes right here. The next person to win with exactly those decks, you get this. That's sick. That's interesting. It's like holy shit. They start thinking maybe I could be that person. And then guess what? You bet your ass they're at the armory. I'm just saying. Now to push back on the point, if the decks are viable enough to even consider choosing them, they must be good product. You're 100% right. My idea becomes an utter disaster if they're not viable. And that's why I said it requires them to be able to deliver on what they are saying. But let's be honest, I'm going to push back on that point. Does that not happen regardless of the bounty? James White has said that you can win a calling with these decks. If we get those deck lists and we start testing them and they're dog shit and you can't win a calling, they're going to get flamed to hell and back anyway. Doesn't matter if there's a bounty or not. But if they're right, it's actual fire, like legit gas. Okay. So the way that I would approach the situation is it's literally something you can do that has no risk. It is literally risk free. If you fail in the same way. I didn't see James White say that. It would surprise me if there's no exclusive cards in the. He literally said during the dev talk, I hate quoting people, but he said you can win a calling out of the box. What he said. It was him or Brian. It was somebody during that dev talk said you can win a calling out of the box. Should they hold production of Wave 2 and release winning decks there? I don't know. It's your $20 ticket, bro. I've heard that like 1,000 times. It's a good line though. I'll give them that. I just a little disingenuous, a little bit, you know. It's a lot better knowing that you're not playing for air fryers. They're talking about Sage precons having exclusive cards. Are they? Okay, that I didn't know. They did, but they did say it, but real talk, do people believe? I mean, I have no idea. The problem is if you put exclusive cards in there, this is another thing that could fuck them up. It could fuck them up. Okay? This is the shit I'm talking about. If they put exclusive, if they put exclusive cards in those Sage decks, then your $20 ticket to the World Tour is now going to be scalped for $35. You want a good example of that? How much was an Aurora First Strike deck when it came out? When you could only get Sizzle, whatever those fucking cards are, and, you know, whatever the case may be. If you have an exclusive in there and it's like uber competitive, like they're saying it is, guess what? It's not $20 unless they print a bajillion of them. Okay? And I'm telling you right now, if they print a bajillion of them, that is a bad idea. Because ask your LGS owner. First of all, look on the shelf of your LGS, and I guarantee you're going to see Blitz decks or First Strike decks that look like they ain't sold none of. Okay? Because that shit don't move. It does not. Okay? So LGSs are not going to be lining up to take another risk on a pre-con product. Even though I think it's going to be a success, I'm just saying they're going to be a little cautious in doing so. If they order them at all. And so I think what ultimately happens is they all land at stores like Righteous Gaming and MinMax and things like that, where they go to events and they're going to like, all right, nobody wants them. I'll take them. And if they win, they win. Right? So that'd be kind of dope if that happened too. Problem is you don't put exclusive cards in them and they might just sit on shelves forever. That's a good point too. Like I don't know. It's a tough spot. It's tough. You're right though, Michael. If it's just commons and rares, you're 100% right, Michael. If you don't put I just talked all that shit in the opposite direction, but if you don't put an exclusive card in there, it does come with a booster pack. Ugh, whatever that worth, whatever that's worth. But if it doesn't have an exclusive card, then you're right. Like you have a bunch of commons and rares that you're spending $20 on. Like your buddy that's trying to get you into the game will probably just give you that shit for free. I know I would. I'd buy a $20 deck just so I don't have to sort through cards. Listen, I've never related to a sentence so much in my life. I'm right there with you. I'd hand him the $20 bill just so I don't have to go through that shit. I'm gonna tell you how bad I am with that. So 2 years ago, I organized everything. I put everything in binders, 3 across, master sets, all the way. I did all of it. It was all sorted, all that beautiful stuff. Now, I went through my bulk box and found my heart to find them. I just yeet that shit in there. I'm disrespectful, okay? If I'm being 100% honest, like, I'm just mad disrespectful to the cards. Like, I just cannot. I don't have it in me. I can't do it. I wanna be that super organized person. I'm telling you, I was looking for red come to fight for some reason or something. Or no, it was assassin cards for the huntsman deck. And I was like, oh God, where are these cards at? And I was just thumbing through shit and I just found a hard to find deal. So I was like, oh, I know where that is now. I mean, it's just absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But yeah, I would pay the 20. So maybe that's the angle. So you're really paying 15 because you get a booster pack. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So the question now becomes, would you pay $15 to not go through your bulk? And that answer is yes every time. So, Michael, point disproven. Shit's not going to stay on the shelf because we're lazy. We're trying to monetize convenience. Why would you go through all of that when it's right there in a pretty package? Just saying. I'm just saying. If we're worried they're gonna sit on shelves, maybe they should improve in a different area. That's look. Some Tekla, pump the brakes. All right, we've already been giving people the cold hard truth for the better part of 2 hours now. They can only handle so much. Okay, but you're 100% accurate. Like you're dead ass on the dot. Like literally. So you're 100% correct. Like if they're sitting on the shelves, then you got other shit going on. Like now that's some like look on the inside shit. I like that. I like I like that. It's correct though. Like that's that actual factual. Art is bulk once they do an EA art. I mean, oh God, don't get me started on it. I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. If we're worried they're gonna, we already did that. I do the same thing, but I don't want to mess up the master set, so I end up going through the book. Oh, you got to give in. You just got to let them just float in the boxes, bro. Like I, I do. So what I do is I do like a mind palace for like where they're in the bulk. I pitch stack my bulk. Okay, that's the secret. Okay, so like your more valuable stuff, you put them in like the upper right quadrant, right? But then like all the dog shit goes in the bottom left. I'm telling you, bro, like you got to mind palace, okay? It's priorities, okay? It takes a lot of effort to half-ass shit, okay? But if you're gonna do it the right way, okay? That's all I'm saying. Got to do it the right way. Maybe it's the shelf's fault. Maybe it's the shelf's fault. Oh goodness. I already have decks, but I don't want to dismantle by pre-con. Yeah, it's a good point. Yep, it's a good way to just consolidate everything. I remember buying Dromai Blitz decks because I need sigils and Oasis. I mean, exactly. It shouldn't, and that's actually a good way that they can like reprint. Well, they can't because that shit's banned. Oh my god, didn't think of that. They shouldn't do exclusive cards, but exclusive art. That's a good point. That's a good meet in the middle compromise. I'm over here like, bro, the cat got me. We have a kitten. Holy shit, tore my hand up. Feel like I'm dying. If the precon only calling, bro, that would kind of go hard. I'll be honest. That would go hard. I like the idea behind special treatments in the decks of regular cards being pulled. Well, yep. Good question with Copendium. Right now it might be Cope, but we'll see. We'll see. They pump up Sage decks. Yeah. Well, how's that going to affect CC? Well, that's the beautiful part is they can just dedicate all the Majestics to CC because you can't play them in Sage. So you don't have to factor in balance at all. You can like juice the Majestics as much as you won't send them off to CC. And then all the commons and rares have fun in Sage. So this set, there's no excuses. If they fuck it up, it's 100% on them. I'm from a dev and design, like there are so many like built-in protections within this product that if there's something wrong with it, you fucked it up. Like literally. Just ship the Majestics to CC, make sure they impact the game enough, make some new heroes or some shit, give me a new Briar. Thank you. Please. Make it majestic. I don't give a fuck. Just do something and like change CC enough to where it makes an impact. All your combos and rares, just dedicate that shit to Silver Age. It's so easy. It's so easy. I say that like I've designed 20 sets. Look, it's not easy. I'm just saying you're not playing around limited. You're not playing around this and that. It seems way easier. That's all. That's all I'm saying. LSS's real desire is to sell packs at the end of the day. For new players buying the precon, the first hit is free. That's a good point. Good point. When's the tier list happening? You know it's around the corner. You already know. You already know it's around the corner. No, we're probably going to do a Silver Age tier list right after the holiday. Kind of. We might do one more stream this year. Then we'll take a little bit of a break because we're going on vacation to, you guessed it, Disney World. We mentioned it before in the stream. But like we're going to take a vacation and we'll be back beginning of the year or something like that. We'll probably in the first half of January, we'll probably do a Silver Age tier list for sure because we got to get around to that. I've seen your Tau Shark gameplay. I don't believe your bulk is pitch. Look, hear me out. Hear me out. You're not wrong, okay? You're not wrong. But hear me out. It's difficult to pitch stack, do the blackjack briar counting, and read chat and try to be entertaining, although most of the time I'm not. But like it's difficult to do all those things at once. And yes, it does impact my play. Am I much better when I'm not streaming? That's a debate to be had. Okay? That is a discussion we will have at a future time. There's also the decks having those cards, so you get those decks and open for the random cards. Yep. I agree with the other points you made in chat that special art treatment would be lit. That seems like the easiest win. The Sage decks will have selling potential simply because they can actually win games. Well, if they can actually win games, we have to prove that first. But LSS, if you see this, bounties are the way to prove that. I'm telling you, LSS, It's just a way to put it on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can win a calling, and the first person that does, and then somebody wins it like 2 weeks into release, like, bro, that is like marketing is all I'm saying. Straight from the UK, marketing. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out Jason. The ting on him. Okay. Agreed. LL, no Briar until Florian CCs. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. We can always hope. We can always hope. Okay. Over under on Bonds getting unbanned. It is not going to happen. If you're hoping it is, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, I think that is one. I know there's a lot of people talking about unbans and the possibility of that, but that's the one. You can't do it. You can't do it. Skippy just shoots right back up, and we get in this weird spot, especially because like we're in this situation where you kind of got to do something to Verdance, which is like would be maybe the counter to Slippy. And so it's kind of weird. Kind of weird. But in my opinion, I think Bonds of Agony stays. You sit on a throne of lies. You're taking a vacation, play Riftbound. Look, I'm going to Orlando, yes, but it is the week after. Okay, 2 weeks after. Sorry. So no, this time I am not. I'm not. Although that'd be one of my favorite events was the first US Nats, which was in Orlando. And I just like took the fam down. Me and Josh, we went and played Nats, and then like the rest of my family was like Disney World. It was pretty dope. Pretty cool. Are you playing PoE 2? Of course. I haven't decided what I'm gonna league start. Probably gonna be Pathfinder just because I did the Blood Mage last time with the instant recovery, which was pretty dope. I want something a little bit faster this time, so I might league start Pathfinder and try to go for the Adorn. So of course I'm playing PoE 2. You think I'm a scrub? Get out of here. Come on now. Tier list before. Yeah, we're gonna do. Won't it change completely? Well, so yes, you're 100% correct in what you're saying. The problem is that I don't want to understand how a set is going to impact. You have to understand where you're currently at because you're adjusting knobs. You don't want to like. I need to get a baseline, so I'm going to do a tier list that's going to be invalid for a very short period of time. Yes, but then I get to go into it and say, this is how it's changing. And maybe I don't need to do like a full blown tier list. Maybe I just need to discuss the meta and get a good understanding of it. So maybe you're partially right of like maybe doing double tier lists so close together is probably not the right way, and you're probably right. But I need to at least hunker down and have discussions and things like that to get a good read on it, so that way I can understand the impact of the new set. If they unban Bonds, I'm playing Riftbound full time. That's that innovation we were talking about. That's that innovation right there. Unbanning Bonds is how Riftbound wins. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Can we get a tier list of classes that will get fake buffed by Compendium? Warrior. Warrior S tier. They get juked. They are getting juked out by the set. Somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, they got Glint in rare," and it's still gonna be dog shit. It's still gonna be dog shit. Oh man, it's too good. Breakpoints podcast had a best idea to unban Winter's Whale. So normally that would like that's a pretty good idea if it was a good idea. But it's not a good idea. Like if you unban Winter's Whale, I don't think you understand what you're asking to be bestowed upon the world, okay? Um I mean it would be a disaster. Jarls would start flying out of the woodwork, bro. I I'm not going to say that it wouldn't be entertaining to watch. Okay, from the sideline, it would be hilarious. But the amount of bitching from people just hiding behind a shield against the Guardian and just swinging Winter's Well over and over again, bro, people are gonna lose it. Absolutely lose it. Oh my god. It would create cinema though. It would create absolute cinema. Yeah, that shit's not gonna happen. I don't know if you got the overarching message, but they're not gonna unban Winter's Well. There's zero chance that that happens. Um, no fucking shot. That's a wild take. It would be fun to watch, but I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Unban High Octane and let mechs back in the game, you cowards. So I I like the idea of that, but one, it's risky. It's after Dio goes, sure, but like we kind of already know that. I don't know. It's just really risky. But I agree that it's like the cart felt really, really powerful to play, but it felt acceptable when being played against. It's the problem of being able to turtle and combo and just blow you up out of like that's where it gets out of hand, is that whole combo Dio kind of aspect. Um, so for that reason, I'm gonna have to decline that offer. Unfortunately. Temporarily. If we have any more open positions in the future, we will consider your application. Boy, have we not all seen that one before. Um, Actually, how do you feel about product creep in Fab? We've gone from 3 sets a year to 4 in 2026, and then between 5. Uh, it de- it are the products relevant? Guardian Mastery Pack could have never happened, and I would have not. If it wasn't for that fucking blue card that goes in gravy, I wouldn't know. It could have not released, and I wouldn't know. I'm dead ass. I'm not even exaggerating. If it wasn't for that blue generic card, like I couldn't name you half the cards in the set, and I make content for this game. That's how relevant that was. As long as the products they are making are relevant, it's fine. It's not about product throughput. It's about the quality of like if they could make banger after banger product and make 10 of them instead of 5, nobody would complain. But when you were making 5 really good products and that's all you were doing, and then you bump it up to 8 and 3 of them are shit, people start asking questions. People start asking questions. But that's a really good question. What do you think? Pierre said, "What do you think about grinding side events for tickets?" Well, what do you think of whether or not LSS should spoiler? Pierre, you want to try that again? Whether or not LSS should spoiler the commons and rare should spoil the commons and rare cards from pin before world premiere. My thought is if we know 0 of the cards before the world premiere, how do we find all the non-pin cards to play in the call? You're 100% correct. It would be a misplay to not spoil them. Or not spoiler or I can't even talk your way. Um, but yeah, like it would be a misplay on their end to not spoil those cards. Um, but high seas Nats happened, so anything's on the table. Hey, you might not have to worry about it because you might not have the card or be able to get them. I see your no on Winter's Well and raise you an unbanning of a way. Stop. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. We're trolling now. We're trolling. Unban High Octane and Oh my god, I'm from Alabama. Ban system reset. Uh, yeah, I mean, you would have to do system reset and cerebellum probably to make it appropriate. To be honest, scorching hot take: unban cash in and ban 13 cards out of gravy because he's the only one. Um, I, cash in Viscera, I would love to have a word. Now I know he's not legal in the current format, but you have to remember that there are aggro decks that can just lean on that package. You have to be aware of that. There's nobody cash in Viscera, like there's no synergy there. But I mean, turns out extra card good, and sometimes that's enough. Try to give Max, tried giving Max high octane comparable card, but apparently it isn't as good. Yeah, I don't have all my cold foils yet, but I'm okay with it. Don't you want Dio to eventually LL? I mean, eventually. Clash of Bravado. Okay, yeah, that's the only other card in Master Pack Guardian. Master Pack Guardian plus Super Slam Guardian still is not in the meta. Yep, sounds right. Guardian Mastery would have been great set if 90% of the cards didn't only work on Guardian. All right, that's shade. But you're right. I can't even fight you on it because you're right. And once again, that's the innovation that I'm talking about. That's the innovation. When Riftbound comes creeping around the corner, can't get away with that shit. Like, it's not going to go well. You can't do it. That's the innovation. The only cards I see being unbanned currently are Talk a Big Game, Plunder Run. Talk a Big Game is not going to happen. Plunder Run, man, I'm a Plunder Run enjoyer, but I don't see it. I don't see it. Dio's at 400 already. She's climbing at a great rate. That's true. Super Slam Mastery Pack is what puts a lot of fear in my heart about Compendium. I mean, I don't think Super Slam was bad. I just wish the heroes, I I know a lot of people are like trying to back up Super Slam with Lyeth and Jason just came off a heater with it. And it's a good deck, but I don't think it's that good. It's not like breaking the meta. Like it is relevant. Fun to run unbanned would be sauced. It could be. Could just be that I haven't dived into it much, but I would be interested to see if biggest gainers. I mean, great blue plunder for gravy goes hard. Okay, absolutely insane. Rune Blades were the decks that really abused that card, and none of the Rune Blades can really. Vinny can do it, but she doesn't really have the action point economy to really get away with it. The second is like when Aurora 2 comes out later this year or next year, like that's when you start getting in trouble. But you're right. In the current card pool, like Syndra is the only thing that can really like a Syndra and Fi. Ninja is the only thing that can really abuse it. All you're doing is convincing me that it should never be unbanned. Do you think the solution to LL could be the same as Blitz? By deleting it? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Partially. A singleton format? No, it's not the problem with LL. Because nobody played singleton. The problem with LL, the reason you play Fab and the reason you fall in love with like the mechanics of Fab is its lower variance. It's just you look at the most hated metas across the board. I'm talking after Zen got his 13th ban, Amsterdam Pro Tour, one of the worst metas this game's ever had. And it's because everybody's just playing a bunch of Zen mirrors. Anytime you have a meta where most of it removes a lot of agency, people despise it. And that's just a symptom of LL. So until the player base adjusts their expectations or their willingness to absorb variance, they will always reject that format. That is just a reality. You have to balance it more. The the player base has spoken. Nobody complained about LL because somebody could play Viscerai. Somebody complained about LL because they played against Viscerai and they got blown up on turn 2. That's the problem. Simple as that. I get it. Card game design, people need to do powerful. I get that. But there's like a limit and you don't want to go past it. Just a thought. Head can't catch a break with the Guardian Head. Yeah, bro, they made the boots. The boots, bro? Oh my God. As a mastery, unbanned bonds of ancestry. Yellow and blue. As a mastery pack guardian, when I think I don't want mastery pack for wizard. I don't want all the attention on the class to give only. I think they learned their lesson. I give them a hard time, but I'm pretty sure they learned their lesson. I'm almost positive. Would Plunder Run even be a card that considered a problem with the current rules for a banned card? I mean, probably not. And let's unban Ball Lightning and Plunder Run right before New Aurora comes out. Yeah, that sounds like a little risque. A little risque. It's okay. There are plenty of counter wizard cards. Unban anything called bonds. Please don't. Please don't. I mean, let's just bring back Count Your Blessings. Why not? Let's do it. Send it. Send it. Liath with 5 cards and Count Your Blessing. That'll be okay. There's no problem. Zen was awful, but Lexi was pretty bad. But Lexi was bad because it was there for so long. It wasn't anything like systemically wrong with the meta. It was that she just overstayed her welcome. In my opinion. LL just needs more bans. Issue is it's just not popular. We had spoken. That's it. I was solo Briar day 2 at Worlds Calling. Yeah, hey, you carried the flag. And hey, I'm just throwing this out there. If you were playing Riftbound, just saying, you would have got your metal card. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. If LL heroes get extra life, like 60 instead of 40, would it solve the problem? So I played Brian Gottlieb's brother in Worlds. Justin, I believe is his name. Justin Gottlieb. And he was playing Floor and I was playing Viscerai. And I dealt, I think we ended up counting it it was in the realm of like 160 damage. You can put the life to whatever you want. It does not matter. It's the synergies and interactions. He after the game, he literally found me in the crowd and he said, "Bro, I usually make people buy me a beer before they fuck me." That's literally what he said. Like it was bad, bro. It was like he was doing the Florian stack thing, and I brought the book, which was like just makes it giga free. And I was like, okay, let me stack my deck, non-attack, attack, non-attack, attack. Just stack the whole thing, and then I played double Mordred. Had like I flipped over 26 cards with Sonata, and hit a perfect 13 split. Dealt 13 arcane, had like 50 chance in the back on a double Mordred. Like I laid out my hand and it was like 15 cards, bro. Yeah. Put the life to 60 will be okay. Like, it's actually wild. Uh, don't Guardians just need answer to yeah, but, like, if you do that, then it becomes oppressive, right? Because they're supposed the archetype necessitates polarization by definition. Because if a Guardian didn't have that weakness, like, you would shit on the ninjas because you have clashes that you always win and shit like that. Like, what would beat you? Verdant's the Wizard's the only thing left. With Team Blue Pitch devs, gameplay should improve even more. I have full confidence in Allen and I have full confidence in the devs that were already there. But what I can promise you is that adding Shing and Allen is going to do nothing but improve it. Guaranteed or your money back. Guaranteed. My ideal bands for December 15th, at the top of the meta and downshifts current 1, 2. Yeah. Any bands that increase variant. I was thinking like you gotta hit verdants, like either you go like Rootbound Carapace, and then like Mental Block, and then you take Wrath of Retribution from Syndra to just take the ceiling out a little bit. And then maybe for Gravy, you take out Prismatic Leyline, or you could take out like Swell to kind of like just remove the the bigger turns and things like that. Another card I remember from MPG was Renounced Granger, the crush card that. Oh yeah, yeah. That's really only an LL card, I think. Just tuning in, excited to hear what you said at the beginning of the stream. Yeah, it was a good one. I promise you won't be disappointed. The metal card thing in Riftbound is so cool. Yep. Guardians do need a season to. I mean, they literally dominated the first 3 years of the game. I think they'll be all right, but you know. Um, Question to the unks in the chat. Okay, well, I guess this is directed for me. Was Dromai fun to play against when she was meta? I find her kind of boring to play with, and I wonder if most people that I interacted with complained about playing against Dromai. That was the general synopsis that I got. People loved playing it, people disliked playing against it. AKA, that can be summed up with the word illusionist. Maybe Guardian needs something like Cleaver for possible, but I mean, I think you need more. Like, did that fix the issue for Warrior? No. I fatigued to starve and had 14 life left. 60 would break the game in a bad way. Yep. Okay, let's delete LL. He convinced me. Delete, delete, delete. Those guys are insane. I hope they're the ones putting together the future deck. I mean, they're some of the best players I've ever had the pleasure of playing against. Literally some of the best. All of Team Blue Pitch. They're absolutely phenomenal players across the board. I don't know what it is. Nova, I can't beat him in limited. I can't do it. I don't know what happens. We draw our first hand and it always lines up wrong. I get caught trying to eat my cards and I'm just like drooling. I don't know what happens. I get paired against Nova in a limited game. I just can't win. I cannot do it. I don't know what it is. What would you do to weaken Chain in the Sage meta? I don't know. I to be the root of the problem is the hero ability, but you can't really hit that. And how do you hit other stuff without hit? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. Are we having a tier list for if Riftbound is best or worse? That's something we can maybe do. I didn't not enjoy playing against Dromai. Her weapon was poorly, but yeah, and that's the general synopsis. What 3 heroes do you think the new shet the new not shet set should have. Well, I assume we're going back to somewhere in Aria, and we're doing the whole probably Volt Haven. If I had to guess, would it be Ice and Lightning? Also, James hinted at later this year they're doing something that they've been holding back. I interpreted that as ice. I think this is the year to where they like, all right, we're giving ice like a good go. Like this is we figured it out. It was a little too good before. We figured out some things, figured out a way to balance it, and like here's ice. I think this is the a big year for anybody that likes playing ice. Illusionists will always be hated forever, forever. How many more Kabutos will we get in the war? Exactly, bro. That's what a meme. They print that card and every warrior lost one sideboard slot. That was the net result because you have to have it in the mirror. LSS already hit the delete button on the LO. You technically right. Anyone else surprised how far ahead they are in the production pipeline? They said years. I did catch that, which is a little surprising to be honest. I didn't know they that far out. Means they've been cranking them out. I mean, it's pretty easy when you got Master Pack Guard. I'm just kidding. I know that was a little shadeful, but what do you think if the next set after Pin is Volt Haven, my wallet is going to her. Yeah, I think that's where they're going. I just don't have a hero I love right now. I'm starved for anything. I felt that when Briar LL'd. I'm right there with you. And to be honest, I'm still there. Haven't fully recovered. Still looking for that deck that I really get attached to. Aurora and Florian, they were too far on the opposite ends to where I just didn't get that mid-rangey vibe with the burst of aggression. Like I just didn't get that vibe from either one of them. I felt like they had perfection and they just split it in half and ran it in two directions. They're good. Like I'm not saying they're bad. It's just not Briar. It just isn't. James White mentioned he held back stuff was an early ideas he had. I think it's ice. Ice Runeblade, as down as I would be for that, it ain't happening. I think he alluded to set 20 being a milestone mechanic or something. I kind of hope. Yeah, it could be. Jay needs an errata. It does, but that's the worst thing you can do in card games. It is the worst. My tenfold theory is for Monarch 3, you can choose your talent at the start of the match and play hybrid talent. Huh. I fear for the people that had to design and develop that, but it sounds dope. It sounds dope, but I ain't got the brain power to do it. I think they brought Pin forward because they were banning Blitz. I mean, yeah, or banning Blitz. Yeah, well, effectively the same thing. When a hero's busted in every format at the point it's a design. Yeah, exactly. Like you can only take so many. It's just gonna flare up again, and why Aurora comes back, I will absolutely be diving in head first. Yeah, I'm excited, and hopefully it lands somewhere closer to Briar as I'm crossing my fingers. Um, what if Aurora actually like touched grass and became an Earth Lightning Runeblade, aka Briar replacement, still Aurora? Everybody's happy. LSS, please, please. Everybody would be happy. No complaint. Aurora just touches grass. Earth Lightning Runeblade. Done. I'm playing a Celio because Aurora left, bro. I didn't know you was that hard up. Dang. Ice Ninja Aurora is too angry version of Brock. What do you think of Arata? In my opinion, Arata's never the answer. Like, I'd probably ban Chain from the format before I rotted it. To be honest, maybe like it could be that serious. Did you catch the hint at the shapeshifter support? Yeah, that'll be pretty dope as well. I would personally think it would be smart to make Aurora Lightning Rune Blade instead of Elemental, but that's just me. I think Light Rune Blade would be cool, and I imagine, yep. Bring back Rosetta Thorn, if only. If when we get an Ice Rune Blade, just know you're welcome, bro. I would be all for it. Acilio, Briora. Oh, that's such Briora. Oh, bro, that's a sick name. We're literally doing LSS's job. We came up with bounties for the $20 tickets to the world tour, and now Briora. Oh my god, Aurora that touched grass. My god, what are we doing here? All right, chat. I think that's too much excitement for one day. We're gonna have to taper it back a little bit and start it back up next week. But seriously, I appreciate everybody joining today. I once again, I know there were some people that I was disagreeing a lot with in chat, some people I was agreeing with, and some in between. Thank you for participating in chat and sharing your opinions, whether they are alongside of what I'm saying, whether they're completely against. Because at the end of the day, I want to have a discussion and agree, disagree, and have those, those moments where people come to their own realizations through discussion. And it's ultimately what I'm trying to do. And I just want to thank everybody for participating, whether you were adamantly disagreeing, whether you were agreeing, whatever the case may be. Thank you so much for participating. I think everybody just gets more from it, including myself. Um, and it gets people active in talking about the game and stuff like that. Once again, the purpose of this stream was not to doom and gloom and say, you know, that game's dying or anything. I just wanted to say there's a new player in town, and that's a good thing. So it's risky. There's some competition, but I think if LSS does the right thing, it will produce action, evolution, whatever you want to call it, and ultimately both games will be a better game because of it, assuming they respect it. So I really appreciate everybody being here, truly. And yeah, I think this was a really good stream, and I think the value of to be, in my opinion, probably one of probably the most important stream that I've done this year. Um, just as far as like, man, I really wanted to get that message across because I think it's important. I really do. I'm like an hour behind, but I'm going to the Riftbound event over the calling this weekend. Yeah, Cody, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But I was more inclined to go to Riftbound in Orlando than fly across the country for Fab. Yeah. See you guys Saturday. See you then. And I appreciate everybody for joining me, truly. And I'll see everybody next week. Take care and enjoy the holidays as well. Take care, everybody.